Awesome.
Take it away, Tim.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So it's my first time at .NET Fringe. I was not here last year. It's also my first time in Portland. I was super excited when I got the acceptance. I was like, this is awesome. Then I eventually looked at the schedule and went, Glenn hates me. Because I'm like, really? The last slot of the last day? No. In actuality, it's a great mirror to Andrea's opening remarks at yesterday. So a little bit about myself. Like he said, I'm a .NET developer. I've been at this for mumble number of years, okay? I've been a Microsoft MVP for a decade this year. They just gave me my 10-year award. I love the trip to Portland because I'm something of a crazy foodie. I'm an amateur chef, and I do barbecue. That's not this talk, but if you're into barbecue, come talk with me. I literally cooked 2,000 pounds of barbecue last year. So today we're talking about giving your way to greatness. This is about a journey. This is about the journey of you, your life, your career, and finding that thing that's going to make you happy in the world. That might be phenomenal success in business. I'm going to go with unlikely given this crowd. It might be a phenomenally successful open source project. Way more likely in this crowd. Okay? I'm an open source project maintainer myself, I understand. But as with any journey, I think it's best to start with the destination. Let us talk a little bit, as we start this, into what is greatness? What exactly, if we're giving our way to something, what are we talking about here? Well, for a lot of people, greatness might be defined by one of these folks. Take your pick. I give Bill double space because, it's a Microsoft Technology Conference, .NET Conference. Got to give Bill lots of space. It could be any of these folks. It could even be, it can be unrealistic goals like trying to be Superman, okay? But one of the things that I find developers often fall into the trick of is that we talk ourselves into this thing of, well, we have 3 hyper-successful CEOs, a wildly successful comic book character, and quarterback here. And yet we talk ourselves into this mindset that the only people who can succeed in business, the only people who could succeed in life according to the most pessimistic amongst us, are people who are extroverts, who have all the confidence in the world to stand up here like this and go, listen to me because I have awesome things to say. And you want to know something? It's a bunch of bunk, okay? Of these people, all of those are introverts. If you want to debate Superman, see me afterwards, okay? But every time I do this, somebody wants to debate me, they're wrong, okay? And the reason why we make this mistake is if we define introvert and extrovert, the first thing that we find out about this relationship of how we interact with people is that all that extrovert means is that interacting with people is something that recharges our internal batteries. And an introvert is the opposite. It drains their internal batteries. So people think it's this, but it's not. It's at a minimum this. Okay? It is at a minimum that there is also the axis of shy and bold. And we have come to this stupid stereotype that this is what it actually is. Okay? That we have every introvert is a shy introvert, and that every extrovert is a bold extrovert. Well, I'm here to tell you that this is a lie, okay? And I can tell you that for all sorts of reasons, up to and including the fact that yours truly actually lives here. Put into a large room with lots of people mingling around, I have exceptional problems finding a place to start a conversation, etc. I love it once it happens. But several of my coworkers refer to me as the person who's going to find a corner and hold court, okay? I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to eventually strike up a conversation with somebody who wanders by, and then that conversation group will grow and grow and grow and grow because I'm there and I'm pumping energy into it, and it's very, very interesting to me, but it takes 20 minutes or more to start up, and it's not going to be me wandering and buzzing around and introducing myself to a whole bunch of people. That's the bold side people, and they're just nuts. So, If we can accept, so for the record, Bill and Marissa Meyer both are in the bold introvert. They are more than happy to start conversations because in the end, it's about communication. They have been successful in part because they have learned to communicate. This ties back to Andrea's thing. This is a skill. You can learn it. I can and have moved closer to being able to be bold by practice, by making it happen. But once you have that skill and you've got some ability to communicate and you're working with things, the next real question is, what matters to you? We're going to greatness, right? Well, not surprisingly, I suspect, my personal greatness, which is to be as good as Aaron Franklin is at barbecue, but I do it only in my backyard, is probably not your greatness, okay? So here it comes down to, what really matters to you? So these are 7 areas of life. This is wholly and completely stolen hat tip to Corey House and his amazing Pluralsight course on becoming an outlier. 7 areas of life. Look at this for a moment. Consider and ask yourself, what 3 of these 7 areas are most important to me? And then realize I'm going to ask the flip, which is, what 3 are the bottom? So I hate asking people to do things that I'm not willing to do, and it's relevant to the conversation, so here we go. These are my top 3. They come down to health in the last 3 years now. Yes, 3 years. I'm looking at my notes on the deck. The last 3 years, I've lost 200 pounds. As heavy as I am still much healthier than I was. In job, I have a very clear and stated public goal that I want to run one of the offices of my consulting company, Improving Enterprises. I'm currently a VP. That is progressing well. I'm learning and growing the way I need to eventually do that. And in self-improvement, or for self-development, I've recognized that to get what I want in the job, I'm going to have to make myself better and spend some time increasing what I can do. And as such, I have had to categorize up self-development because, I know this is shocking, you're not going to always learn everything you need to do your job on your job. Whoa. Okay. So, we have those as my top 3, but these are my bottom 3. Now, I know several friends even who get up in my face. How can family possibly be in your bottom 3, right? And I'm here to tell you, right now, it's myself and my wife. We have no children. But even with that said, I've just recently helped cousins that lived in Virginia relocate to Texas and find new jobs in the area. It's not that I don't do anything on the stuff that's in my bottom 3, right? It's simply that I have allocated my time, my resources to prioritize, not exclusively prioritize, but prioritize my top 3. And so, as I said, I have a goal for me, joking aside about Aaron Franklin and barbecue, right? I want to be the president of one of the offices of Improving Enterprises. You will have something else. You need to look at this. You have to consider these various areas of life. You need to ask yourself, what am I actually trying to accomplish? And then you need to do that most terrible of things. You actually have to tell someone. As a matter of fact, by the time we're done with this talk, I will have you convinced, I hope, that you will be telling about 60 people, okay? But let us start for the moment of you need to tell someone. And why? Why do we need to tell someone? Let's do a quick experiment. So it really comes down to this. We need our network. Ugly word, we'll get back to that. We need our network to be able to help us to be successful. No person is an island that cannot do it themselves. So, if I need this, I need to be able to tell them. People have this hang-up about telling people that they want to go do something, especially if it's big and audacious, right? Sitting around as a principal consultant who had never yet been in a management position at my company at all, to say I want to be the president of an office, that was big and audacious, okay? It's working in my favor so far, but that was big and audacious. So let's do a quick check. I want everybody to think of a friend right now that you have in your life, okay? And if that friend gives you a call and says, hey, I need you to do me a favor, show of hands, who helps them out? I do, right? Okay. Now, show of hands. How many people feel good for having done that? Same group of people, not surprisingly. Why don't you want to let your friends feel good? If you're not sharing the things that you need to make your life better, you are denying your friends the opportunity to do you favors that make them feel good. You just said so. Okay? So, let's do ourselves a favor. Let's stop doing that. Okay? So, the reason why we have to tell someone, aside from the fact that it makes your friends feel good, is you need to remember that a goal is not a goal until you tell someone. Accountability matters. I want you to tell someone, ideally, I want you to tell someone who will hold your feet to the fire that you should be prioritizing things in your life this way. How much you want to grow and how sincere you are about that greatness and how quickly you want to get there, the more sincere you are, the tougher an accountability partner you should choose, right? Seriously, this is the thing. Now, a little while back, I used the word network, and that is an ugly word, so I just want to stop down and go, hold on, let me explain that I am not going to get you to a bar, glad-handing strangers and handing out business cards. No. That is not network as I define it. The network as I define it is this. People who are already in your life and invested in what is going to happen to you. These might be coworkers who you have real relationships with. This might be family members. This might be church members. These are people that you know. You look at them, you smile when you see them. They are your friends. They are the people in your life. That is your network. Never, ever, ever am I talking about a stranger you just met. A stranger is not invested in you. Okay? We want to consider our network to be people who we are invested in and who are invested in us mutually. One-way streets, not good enough for this bar. Now, once we have this definition of, we're gonna have a definition of greatness. We know where we're going, right? And what exactly that is, that's homework for you guys because you're not going to figure it out in my talk. But let's talk about a nice big word called reciprocity. So as it winds up, there's a lot of scientific data regarding how human beings think about how they interact with others and what they expect in return. From all sorts of interesting studies, including the prisoner's dilemma, if you've ever, sort of the classic games theory thing, right, etc. Reciprocity, when it comes to humans, comes down to three basic categories, at least according to a Wharton PhD in his book, Give and Take. This book is awesome. You should read this book. This book is it's just full of scientific data. If you are a data guy, this is your book. He breaks them down into three categories. Those three categories are givers, matchers, and takers. Takers are easy to explain. They go into every single social interaction with another human being saying, I want to minimize my personal outlay and maximize my gain. I want to give up as little as possible to get as much as possible. Okay? The problem is that completely disinterested in helping anybody else, doing only what is necessary to advance me thing, that has some social downsides. Now, you might think that they're opposites, which are the givers. Givers go in and they don't care what they ever get in return. They literally don't give a whit. They give and give and give, and they expect it will come out in the wash. That is the general, something along the lines of it will all come out in the end, something very karmic, right, is the response most givers will give you when they ask, but how is this going to work for you? And then there's the rest of us, so to speak, in matchers. Matchers try to keep the emotional balance card, the checking account, in check with each of the people they interact with. So they want to, if somebody does something nice for a matcher, they're going to either find a way to do something nice in return, they're going to give you a gift, they're going to do something because they feel indebted to you. So here's the interesting thing about this. Who succeeds more? Any takers? Hint, givers. Okay, now here's the real fun part. Yes, givers, okay? Givers succeed more. But the wonderfully fascinating thing, the thing that I'm here to talk to you about that is to help you not fall into the massive trap that comes with this. You see, givers are overrepresented in the top third of successful people. They are also overrepresented in the bottom third. So, if you're a giver, the one thing I can tell you is that you're unlikely to be mediocre. So, why is it that givers have this conundrum? Why are they both overrepresented in the most successful and overrepresented in the least successful quadrants of success? These three things is the answer. We're here because of the fact that, oh, but I'm a giver. If I'm giving all the time, I'm going to get taken advantage of. People are just going to take advantage of the giver. And this is true. You're never going to have time for yourself because of the fact that you're constantly giving. When are you ever doing anything that makes you get better? Also true, givers have this problem. And the third one is that you'll burn out. You will fall into a state where you've given so much that there is a bottom to even the giver well, and it will come back and bite you, and you'll just be like, hands up in the air. throwing a temper tantrum about how the fact that nobody helps with my open source contributions, or I don't like a licensing agreement that somebody used, etc., and I'm yanking an NPM package. Just saying. All right. So, how do we deal with these three problems? Because they're all very real for people who are of this giver mindset, and yet if we can get past them, we can tip the odds in our favor, and we're no longer just going to be a giver. We are going to be a smart giver who rides more likely onto that third of successful. First thing we need to remember is that takers are going to take, okay? You cannot change the jerk who just wants to do nothing but use people. All you can do is cut him out of your life. That's it. So if you have someone that you have to work with, that you have to deal with on a regular basis, and you know that they're a taker, that they always are expecting you to be there for them, but are never going to be there for you, and they have shown you that time and time and time again, stop helping them. They're not worth your time. This is hard. Just remember this thing, because for a person with a giver's mindset, this is hard because of the fact that these guys are just another human being. And givers want to give to everybody. So, in the infinite set of all humans, let's try to focus on, the top half that are worth a damn. Okay? Yes, it probably means we write off like all career politicians in one fell swoop, but you want to know something? That's okay, all right? So, takers are going to take, realize it, and be okay with that. Now, this one takes more work. Be otherish, a word completely concocted by the author of the book, Give and Take, Professor Grant. Be otherish, not selfish, or selfless, selfless. Selfless givers give and give and give and expect nothing in return, which is very close to a definition of a synonym to what that giver mentality is. What we want to do instead is to be wise about how we choose. We want to give to people who are in our lives, but we want to do so when we are able on projects that on ways that will move us forward as well. The best way to explain this is to give you a personal analogy. I was in the process of deciding that I needed to get more involved with my religion. And So I wanted to help my church. It's a small church that I go to, 60 some odd people. They have various needs. I'm the son of a sound engineer, so I could have run sound. I am a computer techie guy. I could have helped with their website, right? I looked at all of these options that the church had, these various needs, and I said, how about instead I do this? How about I offer to serve on the church's board? The church's board is responsible for financial oversight, for counseling and guiding the executive leadership of the church and the pastor and the staff. And helping with that moved my goals of moving towards the skills I need to be the president of an office forward, in addition to being a way of helping the church. Now, not everything you do as a giver is going to give you an opportunity for otherish behavior, where you can say, it's about you, but there are some kickback benefits to me. But if you are wise, if you choose, when you choose to give, to choose wisely about how you give, to choose those things which move you forward. If we're talking about the equivalent in the open source space, if I am continuing to give and give and give to a project that I don't even think has legs or should be used anymore, that's not a really good place to be giving your time. I've personally had that experience. As much as it shames me to say it, at the release of Visual Studio 2008, I was a member of the core team of NUnit, okay? And I looked at the core team on the private list and went, guys, MS Test is going to kick our butts. And it's going to kick our butts as an inferior product that we cannot enhance as easily. And it's going to do so because it's shipped in the box. All right? Now, once unit testing shipped in Visual Studio, the likelihood of NUnit's continued adoption was just going to be doing this. Okay? Now, there are still shops that continue to use NUnit. But I honestly believe that NUnit at that point had turned a corner, right? My likelihood of continuing to be involved was less so because I would rather spend time helping make people's lives better on a tool that I thought they were actually going to use. Now, NUnit did not decline to this rate that I thought they were. Newsflash, not an oracle of prognostication of software. But what it did do was give me that opportunity to say, where do I actually want to contribute, right? And so I maintain an open source project that's built on top of Entity Framework named Highway Data. Highway Data is very useful to me in what I do, so its usefulness is not tied for me to its adoption by the rest of the community. It has seen some nice adoption, not wide, but nice adoption in the rest of the community. And that's wonderful, and it's a little bit gratifying, but it's mostly there because it solves a problem for me. Okay? Now, we eventually got enough users that I was like, somebody better care about documentation on this thing, right? And so I stopped writing code for it, left that to my cohort Devlin Lyles because of the fact that the community had that need. And that was me totally jumping from otherish, it solves my need, to selfless because of the fact that I knew how Highway worked. I didn't need the documentation, right? But the rest of the community did. So it's not that selfless giving is bad. It's just you want to prefer otherish giving. All right. So we're giving. We're trying to give smartly. We're trying to give in an otherish fashion. We've written off the takers in our lives, but we need to avoid burnout. That burnout is going to be very, very real. It comes in a couple of forms. The first is that there's this wonderful buzz, endorphin, literally physical buzz that we get from helping people. We're wired this way. Again, talk to the PhD if you want to know why, but we're wired this way. And if we are wired this way, then there's also some interesting math that right around 100 hours a year, okay, plus or minus 2 hours a week, it stops working. It asymptotes off, and while it continues to increase, you get a little bit of a continued buzz. You do not get the buzz that you used to, okay? So if you're going to avoid burnout, first of all, try to stick to somewhere around 100 hours a year, if you can, because that means your physiology will support the behaviors you want. But then again, we're talking to open source contributors. You might not be willing to do that, right? The other one is focus weekly time. As it winds up, if I ask you to write notes to thank people who have done you nice things this week, and I say that you're going to write one every 2 hours for 5 minutes, and you're going to do that throughout your day, or I ask you to sit down one time during the week and knock out a 2-hour block of doing them, your happiness level is actually much, much, much higher on the focus block of time, and as a matter of fact, the scattered little interruptions are more likely to get you frustrated than happy. Okay? So, try to have a focused weekly time. If you're going to be contributing to open source, as an example, right? Let's have a time where you actually are focused on doing that, where you block it away and you go, this part of my Saturday or this part of my Wednesday evening is the time I'm going to sit down and work on the project. Having that mentality, having that diligence works. The other thing that's interesting about this, and it's not on my slides but I have 4 minutes still, so I'm good, okay? The other thing that goes into avoiding burnout is to not look for not only be involved in selfless giving or otherish giving that is focused on the long haul. If your definition of success for an open source project is making the top of the NuGet package download things, good luck with all that. It's going to be a while, okay? So what you need to do is find ways to help and contribute and get the beneficial reward of feeling that you have been successful and that somebody has actually gotten something out of your work on a cycle that is shorter than that really, really long one. In the book, they use the example of a woman who was teaching at the Castle in Paterson, New Jersey. This is the high school that is in Stand By Me. Horrible, horrible, horrible high school. And she came in with a program and was going to help teach. And she quickly realized she was having problems maintaining her motivation because of the fact that it was 4 years before she saw a student graduate and actually off to do better. So what she did instead is also, she gave more. She gave more and founded a mentoring program. But the mentoring program gave her a very close relationship with one student that had the cycle of, I saw them do better on grades, I saw them do better on this, and she was getting that endorphin feedback loop more often. When you have goals, it's good to have big goals. Also have small goals. Small goals that will pay you off more often. So who should we give to in 2.5 minutes? I told you about 60 people, right? Let's start with 15, 16. I can do math, really, I'm a developer. Let's talk about 16 people to start with. Who is your one best friend? Who are your 3 close friends? And who are your 12 friends? These are not hard and fast numbers, but they are good examples, okay, of categories of people. And once you have those 16, now go find the 40. Go find the 40 people who this book, Power of Who by Bob Bodine, fantastic book, talks about being the 40 additional people who are in your life who you are mutually invested in. You want to see succeed, but they are not close friends. Once you have found those people, then it's simple, right? Find your who, tell them your what, tell them what your greatness is, and then learn theirs. How many people could say, even for the first 16 people, those 1, 3, and 12, right? Your people who are undoubtedly labeled as friends, not like Facebook friends, but like friends in your life, you can honestly say you know exactly what they want to achieve in their life. Yeah, me either when I went through this. Okay? So, take some time after the conference, write these down. Now, if you're like, I'm not a giver, all right, we'll skip quickly past if you're a taker. That sucks. I'm sorry, I'm not going to change your mind here. Let's move on. Okay. If, on the other hand, you're a matcher, then first of all, thank you. The math backs up that givers succeed more in the top third, mostly because of matchers, because matchers feel a natural desire to tear down takers and promote givers. All right, so first of all, thank you. Second of all, realize that this reciprocity style is a choice. It's not genetic. It's a choice every time you interact. And different people, even on bad days, will flip between these things. So try to think more along the lines of, can I give more? Can I give back more? Because doing so will make the world around you better. So what's your call to action? Your call to action is quite simply this. Find your greatness. define your people, tell them, and then give without expectation of reward. There it is. It's just that simple. Now, if you're like, wow, that was 30 minutes of, oh my gosh, what the heck are you doing? There are all the books with the links, etc. So if you want to follow up and double check me against the source material, I'm not smart, I'm just quoting smart people. And I hope you guys have learned something. Thank you.